Welcome to Spintown, everyone. Today I'm listing the top 10 reasons why MCTheWalls has went down the shitter. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I've never been motivated enough to follow through. But in the near future, we might be getting a brand new Walls game and a brand new forum. I really hope that the new game and forum doesn't get as screwed up as our current ones. So I thought I'd point out how our community got to such pathetic states in hopes that history doesn't repeat itself. At one point, MCTheWalls.com had the best minigame and forum around, and I'd love for it to get back to that point. Now, there's no point in beating around the bush anymore. Let's get started with the list. Number 10. The server list. If you want someone to play on your server, it might be in your best interest for them to know how to find a game. The Mindcade lobby was always kind of annoying to me, never laid out as user-friendly as some other servers. So along with a lot of other people, we like to use the server list on the website to find a game about to start. Unfortunately, at some point the server list became totally borked. It would say server 2 has 30 people in it and waiting to start, but when you join the game it's already in progress and only 5 people are still alive. And of course there's server 20. Whether it's a glitch or left showing 32 in game to help Mindcade save face when the servers are empty, it's sad. The list wasn't always broken, might not be now, but it did go a really long time without being fixed, and I'm pretty sure we could have used some of the players we may have lost during that time period. Oh, and server 20 still says 32 are in game. Number 9. No language filter. The amount of reports and appeals the GMs get are pretty significant at times. One way to cut down on all the work for small offenses would be to use a language filter. Why waste the time of your staff dealing with small issues like that when it can easily be avoided? It would increase the speed at which more serious reports and issues are dealt with if you didn't have so many other minor issues left for the GMs. I'm sure the GMs would appreciate a filter, especially since some of them whine about having to do their job as it is. Some have even started ignoring the cursing rule altogether in the forums. It doesn't seem to matter that it clearly says in Felipe's rules that it's not allowed and that repeat offenses deserve a forum ban. Number 8. Dumbing down the game. It's time to get a little crazy. I'm going to post a list within this list. There have been several instances of Mindcade dumbing down the game to make it easier for people. To me, the One Life and All the Danger made Walls different from a lot of other games. It took a lot of skill and strategy to win. Sure, new people would struggle at first, but it's not rocket science. They learn the game quick enough. But Mindcade started fixing or taking away some of the awesome things about our game. One thing they did was they buffed the iron. Walls was a game of skill, not just combat skills, but mining and preparation as well. If you were terrible at PvP, you could level the playing field a little by being better at gathering supplies. The iron level was eventually bumped up, and we went from sometimes getting full iron and equipment before the walls dropped, to always getting it. Maybe it was meant to level the playing field, but it just took away an important part of the game. Those 15 minutes before the walls dropped used to be a lot more important. Another thing they did was they raised the limit for water placement. This may not seem like a huge deal, but to attack sky bases you used to have to be a lot more careful than you do now. You would also have to prepare by collecting materials before attacking. So again, they took away a big advantage for the people who were good at preparation and sky basing. One of the more recent changes they made was they disabled TNT before the walls drop. Well, I almost understand this one. It was to help stop team killing. The problem is it made some of the traps with TNT in them pointless. It also made it nearly impossible to set TNT booby traps, which used to be a lot of fun. Maybe if they weren't such pushovers when it came to enforcing the rules, we could still have these things. Remember when mineshaft spawned zombies? It used to be difficult to get the loot out of them, but now there's no danger at all. They also removed ghast and blazes. There used to be a couple trap rooms that spawned ghast and blazes. If you were careful, you could collect some of the eggs and use them yourself in combat. It used to be pretty cool, but no more. I could probably list a few other things, and some of these are just a matter of opinion on whether or not they're good or bad for the game, but overall I don't think anyone who has played MCTheWalls for as long as I have would tell you the game didn't get easier. And in getting easier you became more bland, which is not good. Number 7. The removal of the monthly stats pages. The removal of the monthly stats pages was something almost everyone disliked. Even though it happened a long time ago, it still gets a lot of support when the idea of bringing them back comes up. A lot of people who play video games are stat junkies, and they like to compare themselves with others. Unfortunately, it's really hard for newer players to do that at the moment. All we have now is an all-time list, and if you're just starting out with MCTheWalls, you don't really have much of a shot at getting on that list. But if you had weekly and monthly stats pages, you could compare yourself with others to see how you're doing. It encourages people to come back and try to be number 1 for given stretches of time. With only the all-time list we have now, there can only be one number 1. With weekly and monthly stats, there can be lots of number ones. It's an easy fix, almost universally supported in the community, that goes ignored. Number 6. Trolls. A number of the things on this list has to do with trolls. Most of them are focused on how the administration deals with them, but of course they deserve a spot of their own. No matter how poorly a server decides to deal with them, people have to be accountable for their own actions. Team killing, hacking, and DDoSing may be about the worst things you can do in the community, but those aren't the only people I'm talking about. Simply typing the words easy, wreck it, or raging after death doesn't exactly help the community's reputation. If you want to make this community better, act like it. Number 5. GMs friending trolls. I'm not against GMs befriending the community. Matter of fact, I think it's a good thing. I just think that when people who are supposed to enforce the rules are also good buddies with the people who are constantly breaking the rules, you create problems. For starters, it sends the wrong type of message to others in the community if you see GMs being good friends with the same type of people who would post team killing montages in the forums or DDoS other players in game. Honestly, if you're good friends with someone, it's going to cloud your judgment at least somewhat when it comes to handing out discipline. GM should be above that type of behavior, but when you're in Skype calls in the same clans and playing with other people in our community who are dragging it down, it puts you on their level. One name pops to mind quickly, Slayer. But honestly, there are a number of GMs who have made poor decisions when it comes to who they decide to game with. I've always believed that if a GM is doing their job correctly, the trolls would hate them. But with MCTheWalls, it's often the opposite. Number 4. Unbans and appeals. The process has always been a little messed up at Mindcade. When I first became a Mindcade GM, you can get banned and buy an unbanned pass twice. After that, you were permabanned. The price also went up each time you bought a pass. Then the store glitched and players were buying unbans for different players, or they just changed it to allow unlimited unbans. When myself and other GMs noticed this, we couldn't really get an answer as to why the glitch/change was happening, and Boofus and Glenn would not let us reban the people who were now back on the servers, even though they were supposed to be permabanned. At Minecon 2013, I made a point of going to the Mindcade booth and asking Pablo about this situation myself. When I did, he agreed that we should reban the individuals and that it was a glitch. After I got home from Minecon, I was ready to start doing just as Pablo said, but once again, Boofus and Glenn both asked me not to start rebanning people. I flat out told them I'd be going by what Pablo said unless I hear something new from him or Felipe. Owner trumps administrators, period. So at that point, Glenn makes an effort to contact Pablo to get a different answer, and suddenly he copy and pasted Pablo's response into the GM chat. Did I put Pablo on the spot at Minecon? Sure, but it doesn't change the fact that he lied. It doesn't change the fact that he changed the unban policy without letting the community or staff know. Or at the very least, he was going to continue to let people get around the unban limit by having friends buy them. And why the heck weren't Boofus or Glenn motivated enough to get an answer from an owner before I had to do it myself in person? If people are getting unbanned somehow and nobody knows why, I would think it's up to the admins or MGM to do their best to get an answer as to why. But they didn't until I put them on the spot. Boofus has repeated to me that there were no changes to the shop and that it was maybe a misunderstanding. She really doesn't know, but doesn't seem to want to assume the worst, as usual. Now, a few months later, we have something new happen that changes the policy again. Mark Watson, who works for Mojang Support, tweeted this. If you're running a server and charging money to unban people, you are a terrible server admin. That made a few servers take notice, including Mindcade, after a Shopbo network administrator tweeted a link to Mindcade's shop back to Mark. At that point, the shaming began, and it didn't take long for Mindcade to start spitting lies. Had been talking about removing it for a while due to bad feedback and the recent Dungeon Realms transfer. That's convenient, and when in recent history have you ever listened to the community at MCTheWalls? There are dozens of issues they've ignored when the community brings them up. Makes it kinda hard to believe they were already listening about this issue. If you listen to your community, how come you don't listen to us when we ask for the monthly stats to come back? That has been one issue that has been universally supported by the community, and there have been others that have gone ignored as well. This next tweet is probably the biggest lie of them all. The way it works was, if they got banned after getting the pass, they could not buy in again. What? I may have pulled out a chunk of my hair after reading that originally. The policy allowed for at least 2 unbanned purchases, and just recently they went to a policy of unlimited unbans. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Mindcade. I have video and the message from Pablo on Skype that shows this tweet is a flat-out lie. Well, not long after the whole Twitter situation, Mindcade adopted global rules for all its minigames. The only problem is they're pretty lame. Boofus basically combined the rules from the different games and then got Glenn to approve them. They got rid of the unbanned passes and made everything based on appeals. That's a good thing. But there were no guidelines for how long people should be banned for various offenses in the rules, so Boofus and Glenn then had to make their own guidelines for the GMs to follow. They actually created two sets of guidelines. They were exactly the same, but one had slightly harsher ban lengths than the other. And then all the GMs in Mindcade voted for which set of guidelines they preferred, and the more lax version of the guidelines were eventually adopted. I voted for the harsher of the two, but didn't really feel either one was tough on rule breakers. And just because you feel a ban should be upheld doesn't mean it will be. He could be guilty, caught on video, unapologetic, doesn't matter. Boofus could still overturn it. Boofus is a great asset to the community, but has always been a pushover when it comes to punishing cheaters. So in short, MCTheWalls has always let players come back after they've proven to be cheaters and trolls. No matter what the policy at the time, it did nothing to rid the servers of the kind of people that kill servers. I think I share the opinions that Mark tweeted. Number 3. Lag and rollback. This is a no-brainer. Nobody wants to PvP on a laggy server. The servers for MCTheWalls have been extremely laggy for a long time now. The worst thing is the rollback lag. You could be running 30 to 40 blocks away from your enemy, and then you roll back right in the middle of the 3 or 4 guys that were chasing you. In some games you get multiple lives to respawn after death, but like survival games, or Hunger Games if you want to call it that, Walls is great because you're only given one life and it's precious. The only problem is nobody wants that life stolen due to lag, or you just wasted a good chunk of your time. The typical game lasts 30 to 40 minutes and can go much longer. I eventually quit playing because I couldn't waste that much of my time on lag deaths. Walls is still my favorite game, but the game is currently broken. Number 2. The owners. What have the owners of Mindcade done to deserve being on this list? Nothing. Not a thing. And that's the problem. Aside from being liars, as mentioned previously, the communication between the owners and the staff has been horrible. When there has been a major issue with the game or server, they rarely do anything about it or communicate with the staff what the heck is going on. The worst thing I've seen during my time at Mindcade was when the shop was broken. People were buying VIP and Pro, but they weren't actually getting the stuff they paid for. A number of people quit playing at Mindcade because of this issue. We were told it was a problem with Engine, but Engine told a couple of users who messaged them that the problem was on Mindcade's end. You would think an issue like this would be dealt with quickly since kids are spending their money on these things, and Mindcade was collecting it. But we had users complaining in the forums for months about not getting the stuff they purchased. Boofus did her best to make sure these people got what they paid for eventually, but to make sure people got their purchases, first you had to sign up to the forum and jump through a number of hoops. Anybody with any conscience would have shut down the shop until the problem was dealt with, but the owners just kept raking in the money, and the community kept raging on in the forums. Other stories of their neglect pale in comparison to that one, but there definitely are others. Servers have been having severe rollback issues for longer than 6 months. During my time as GM, we had an MGM start breaking the rules and abusing his power. There was video evidence of it, and the entire community wanted him gone, including the other GMs and Master GMs. But it took a long time to get him demoted. Just look at how long it's been since they've logged into the forums. Thinking that they care about what the community wants is almost as believable as them being the only Walls server, which is something they used to advertise on the homepage. Speaking of false advertising, ever since they started selling kits, they've been doing exactly that. People would buy an individual kit like the Caveman kit and then be disappointed that it doesn't work as described in the shop. Same thing with the Ender Pearl kit. How long does it take to fix the problem or at least change the description of the kit in the shop? Because this has been an issue for over a year. Way to pay attention, owners. Number 1, Boofus. I know I'll get crap from people because Boofus is one of the nicest people in the community, but I have reasons. Yeah, it's odd considering she does a lot for this community, but she's basically the person in charge at the moment. The owners have been AFW for a long time now, and she's been running the show in their absence. If you're going to be the person in charge making decisions, you take the blame when the shit hits the fan. There are certain things that she can do something about and others she cannot. I completely understand that. She did a lot of good when the owners were avoiding the whole shop debacle. She's done things for the community like set up tournaments and 200-player matches, even if most of them ended with servers crashing, people DDoSing, and cheating. She even helped me out a lot during the filming of the Walls music video. She spent countless hours for me and others working here, and doing good. But there is one area she's been in charge of and completely out of her element for a long time, and that's the role of enforcer. As a GM and MGM, it's your job to see that people follow the rules and make sure that there are punishments in place that will deter people from breaking them. Look at our community. I don't think that's happening. For some reason, Boofus is in favor of rules and regulation, but not common sense. She interprets the rules in a way to give everyone as many chances as possible. For instance, ban evasion. The rules don't say you are to only ban the account when you get in trouble. It just says to issue a ban. So it's not uncommon for someone to get banned and be playing on the servers the next day with an alt. I know you can't ban every alt of every banned player, but if you know about an alt, and keep in mind players don't make a secret about them usually, ban them if the person is supposed to be banned. Just because something isn't addressed directly in the rules, it doesn't mean it's not a major issue, and major issues should be addressed, not just ignored. The argument, people will eventually just run out of money for new accounts, doesn't hold water. Many are spoiled kids, and many more get cracked accounts and have dozens of them already. Besides, it's not like Minecraft is even expensive. I work at Target and I could buy a new account each week if I wanted to. People are so unafraid to break the rules at MCTheWalls that they will post team-killing montages in the forum to show their skill at breaking the rules. They make threads to recruit players into their clans and ask them to give their booter information in their application. They curse without fear of forum banning because Boofus will just come and edit their post and ignore the problem. Even if someone is reported for it, it doesn't mean action will be taken or even get a response. The rules posted by Fleepay, and that were enforced by him before he went AFW, can be ignored if they get too bothersome to enforce, I guess. To be fair, other GMs have also whined about enforcing the language rule. Why apply to be a GM if you're too lazy to enforce the rules? In my opinion, if people are going to flat out admit to cheating, rub it in your face that they are cheating, you ban them. So what if you don't have video evidence from 3 different angles and 10 different witnesses? Use some common sense. Testimony is evidence. The instructions for appeal even ask for witnesses who can give testimony, yet you refuse to use it as legit evidence when people confess. I remember once I banned a player after reviewing the evidence against him for at least an hour with another GM. We even reconstructed the moment in-game to see if it was possible for the guy to be not guilty. We determined it wasn't possible and I banned him and outlined why in the forum. Boofus comes along, watches the video without sound, and overturns the ban. Never mind that the audio played a key role in why he was banned. Did Boofus come to me or the other GM that spent the time working on the evidence before unbanning? No. The first instinct was to just unban. In short, the reason Boofus is on this list is because she ensures people get way too many chances. I believe in second chances, though. But third, fourth, fifth, sixth, now you're just being stupid. You can't be so lenient if you want people to respect you and the rules. The rules don't even say anything about people ever getting unforeign banned, and she's done that twice with one player. Stop being the most well-liked person in the community, because with a community of mostly trolls, being well-liked is not a good thing. Well, that's it for my list, but I do have a couple other things I'd like to add before ending the video. During the recording of this video, Pablo came online for the first time since December of 2013. There were also a couple changes in the forum that made some of my statements incorrect. Literally 2 days after I start telling people I'm working on this list and that certain people are mentioned in it, they add a rule about ban evasion and DDoS threats. I really don't think Boofus did that because of this video, but it's not a coincidence nonetheless. I've been nagging them in the forums for a long time now to do something about ban evasion. I think it's great that they finally did. It's a shame it takes so freaking long for Boofus or the others to realize there's a real problem and to get off their asses and do something about it. Hopefully they will enforce those new rules, but based on what I've seen of them enforcing other rules, I'm not that confident it'll happen. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I know this wasn't my typical Let's Play, so I appreciate you guys sticking through this long if you're here. I'll be getting back to those videos in the near future. I just felt the need to do this because there were some things that were morally and ethically I didn't feel were right over at Mindcade, and I just at least had to speak my piece.